Hi guys, welcome back to the football space. My name is Tapelo, and yeah, last night was the Europa League final. We watched Manchester United playing against Tottenham Hotspur at San Mamés in Bilbao, Spain, and all I can say is it was terrible. It was terrible from start to finish. As a football game, from a technical perspective and from a tactical perspective, it was just terrible on both sides. Even the goal was scrappy. The game itself wasn't good. It was a very difficult game of football to watch. I'm not gonna give anyone any free promo, but yeah, it was a very difficult football game to watch, and I didn't really enjoy it. Maybe for the fact that I'm a Man United fan, I think that was a big thing. But for the most part, I think the game itself just wasn't good. I don't think the players were up for it. I think the Spurs players were definitely up for it. I think the Spurs players, they came in with the mission to disrupt and to just play a scrappy game, And United thought they were gonna have a game of football where it was flowing, attacking, and everyone was just attacking each other, but that was quite naive of them because they didn't consider all possible eventualities or all possible outcomes. But Spurs just got there and they were like, you know what? We're gonna score one goal. We're gonna make it scrappy. We're gonna make it a bad game. We're gonna stink the place out, basically. We're gonna defend, use our wingers to defend and attack on the counter. Spurs didn't really create anything besides the goal. They had a few chances in the first half, but those were just sighters. They didn't really create a clear cut chance. But neither did United. United had a few half chances. Bruno's header in the second half. Ahmad had a few chances in the first half, but those weren't like clear chances. They were like half chances, I would say. They weren't chances where you say to yourself, he should have scored that. But the Bruno header, though, I think he should have scored that. He should have definitely scored that. And why he uses his head instead of his foot, I don't know. Let's speak about the United players. I think the United players, for the most part, a lot of them, besides I would say personally, I think Casemiro had a good game. I think Euro had a good game. I think Dorgu had a good game. He was one of the few players who actually showed up in that game and was up for it. He didn't play the occasion. He didn't try to do anything too crazy. He just played his football. He played football. Simple football, effective football. But the rest of the team was just, I don't know, man. Mazraoui at the right wing back doesn't work. Bruno, I think that's the player that I'm most disappointed with. It's Bruno Fernandes. Because he's our man, bro. He's our captain, he's our Magnifico. And I was really, really, really banking on him to do something in that game. Because when the chips are down, usually we can rely on him. And this season, he has proven that, when the chips are down, he can show up. But in the biggest game of the season, he chose to play the occasion. In the biggest game of the season, where he had one job, he chose to play the occasion. So he was poor, man. He made so many poor passes. I mean, he did have a few good moments. He's Bruno. He's a top class player. He's a world class footballer in my opinion, and he won't have an absolute shit game. But he wasn't good by his standards and by any standards. He gave the ball away way too many times, bro. And I know Bruno does give the ball away, but it's the way he gives it away in this game, bro. He was passing to the opponent. I remember he made a pass in the second half. He made a pass, trying to make a pass to Dorgu, and then it was intercepted. And then Udogi just ran with the ball, kept running with the ball, and then passed to Dominic Solanke, where they could have buried us. They could have totally buried United. And Solanke struggles to control the ball, and the ball goes wide, which means that that United had time to reset and to restructure. And in that kind of game, when you're the deepest midfielder and you're supposed to be the orchestrator of the team, you can't make those types of mistakes. You just can't. And Bruno made those mistakes. He made those mistakes in the biggest game of the season. In a game where you needed him to have a level head. In a game where you needed him to show up and show his levels. He didn't. He had a shambolic performance. And it begs the question, are we ever going to win the Premier League with those kinds of players? I don't doubt Bruno Fernandes' ability. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt how good he is as a footballer. I don't doubt that. But his nerve in the big games, his nerve in moments when it really matters, in those high pressure moments, he loses it. He loses it. I don't know, man. I love Bruno. I know he's our best player, and I really wouldn't want to sell him, but that 120 million now from Saudi, man, it's looking more tempting. And I'm not just saying this in light of this game, but I'm saying this from a long-term perspective. Like, I've seen Bruno over the years, and there was a question that Ricky from the United stand asked. He said, are you ever going to win the Premier League with Bruno Fernandes as your captain? And I was like, are we? Because if you want to win the big things, you need players who can hold their nerve in big moments, man. You need players who can deliver in big moments. Bruno has delivered in big moments. I can't even lie, he has. But when I say big moments, I'm talking about finals. I'm talking about title-deciding games. I'm talking about games that actually matter when it comes to winning important stuff. This game was, for United, this game was a lifeline. This game was transfer funds. This game was Champions League football. This game was an opportunity to elevate our team. And I'm not putting this on Bruno, don't get me wrong, I'm not putting this on Bruno, but he takes a lot of the blame because he's the captain of the team and he had one of the worst performances in the team, on the field in general. So how am I as a fan supposed to take that? My captain was one of the worst players on the field. When I know how good he is, how am I as a fan supposed to take that? Spurs, there's nothing to analyze from Spurs. Spurs were parking the bus. That's simply what they were doing. They were just parking the bus and they were hoping for counters. Even their goal was the scrappiest goal you will ever see. So I don't think there's anything to analyze on Spurs. That's the analysis on Spurs. Spurs scored the goal, parked the bus. Scored the goal, parked the bus. My heart was broken last night. I couldn't sleep. Like I slept, but I woke up tired today. I woke up lethargic. I woke up. My spirits are low, man. And going to that final, I was in high spirits. I was confident that these guys will get it over the line because they know what kind of situation our team is in. But they didn't. They let Spurs take that final and win it. They gave it to them. Spurs were there for the taking. They were terrible. They were absolutely pants. They were absolutely there for the taking. If Manchester United just performed at a decent level, they could have won that game. 3-4-1. But they just didn't. And another guy that really, really disappointed me in this game is Amorim. Sorry. You know, for this whole season, I never doubted Amorim. Okay, he did have some bad performances, but I understood that because, you know what, he has terrible players, and not terrible, but like players who aren't good enough to play the way he wants to play, right? I look at that and I'm like, how much of yesterday is on him? How much of last night is on him? And I think a lot. First of all, starting Mount in that game. What are you doing starting Mason Mount in that game? First of all. What are you doing playing Luke Shaw in that game? And Luke Shaw, I'm going to talk about him later, but Luke Shaw, get out of my club. get out of my club. What are you doing playing Luke Shaw? What are you doing playing Mason Mount? And for this whole tournament, our best midfield has been Casemiro and Ugarte. For some reason, that midfield wasn't good enough to play in the final. Amorim changed the core of the team that got us there in the first place. I understand that he was trying to go for experience, but what did Mason Mount do in that game? What did he do? What did he do in the last few games that he's been playing? I mean, he scored 3 goals, but besides that, what has he done? The game against Bilbao at Old Trafford, that was his best game ever since he signed for this team. But after that, he's done nothing. He hasn't earned a start in a final of a major European competition. I'm not the biggest fan of Garnacho. I'm not, at all. But Garnacho would have been a better option because Garnacho actually affects games. He causes problems for the defense. Sorry guys, I have flu. He's a problem. He's a nuisance to defenders. Mason Mount is just there, just running around, hiding from the ball. He was hiding from the ball. I don't even know what to say, bro. Amorim, you made terrible mistakes. You chose players that you like over players that would have been effective in that game. And that is on you, my brother. That is on you. I like you as a coach. I think you're one of the best coaches in Europe. But you are making terrible mistakes. Amorim is making the same mistakes that Ten Hag was making. Favoritism. Tactical errors. We were basically playing a back 5 against a Spurs team that was defending with 10 men behind the ball. Why are we playing a back 5 against a team that is going to do that? When Amorim saw that, okay, these guys are playing basically park the bus or park the bus, he should have said, you know what? Since they're parking the bus, I am going to take Mazraoui off or take Luke Shaw off, send Mazraoui to the right hand centre back side, send Euro to the left, and then put in Ahmad on the right. After putting in Ahmad on the right, wing back, you take Garnacho, you put him on the right 10. We have a different team now because now we have a team that can actually play, a team that can attack. Now we have more attackers on the field. But no, he didn't do that. Decided to keep his back 5. Decided to just stick with it. And then after the game, he says we were the better team. Better team, my ass. We need to do better. The club needs to do better. The players need to do better. The coach needs to do better. Everyone needs to do better in that team. And for Spurs, congratulations. Congratulations to Tottenham Hotspur. They had a game plan. They saw it out. They did what they had to do to win. Ange Postecoglou, his line about winning things in his second season, that's going to be one of the coldest lines of all time in football because he did what he said he was going to do. Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw, first of all, he looks 3-4 kilos overweight. He has a belly. As a professional footballer, at an institute as big as Manchester United, that should not be acceptable. Second of all, he's just playing, going through the motions, jogging. Like, he's not doing his crosses. Oh my days. What were those crosses? What was he doing? The goal. It was a 3v2. 3v2 in the box. And they still scored. Luke Shaw lost his man. Should Maguire possibly defend the near post better? Yeah. That is a valid chat. Because I was speaking to someone and I was blaming Luke Shaw and that person said, You know what? Maguire should have done better in the near post. Sorry. He said Maguire should have done better at the near post. And I'm like, okay, yeah, now that I look at it, that's true. But Luke Shaw had to deal with that. He should have dealt with that. That is just the truth. It's the reality of it. But he didn't. He made so many poor decisions in that game. His passing was wayward. He was just out of it. And the fact that Ruben.Amorim trusted him in a major European final, that's a red flag, man. The same players who've sold us out for all these years, those same players are being trusted by coaches over and over again. Why? Why? This was a terrible performance. This was a terrible game. And this will go down as one of the worst seasons we've ever had as an institution and as a team and as a club. That is Manchester United. This is terrible. I'm a United fan. And yes, I have a bit of bias towards them, but Spurs didn't win that game because they were the better team. Spurs won that game because United were trash. And that is a fact of life. Because what did they do? They created nothing. They didn't do anything. They didn't create anything. They were just there. And United let them. Just let them play. Let them do what they want to do. Let them disrupt the game. Let them get in their heads. I saw Maguire arguing with Romero, and I'm like, bro, just get on with the game. You're there fighting people. You're there pushing people. You're getting unnecessary yellow cards. Now you're putting yourself under pressure. See, it's the same players. The Maguires, the Brunos. Okay, Bruno, provided I can give him a bit of leeway because he's been consistent throughout the years. The Shaws, the Lindelofs, even though he didn't play, but he was in the team. He was in the squad. But the same players who've sold the team out for years and years and years. And you expect different results? Sad state of affairs, guys. It's a sad indictment for a club of the magnitude of Manchester United to be where it is today. It's sad. And I hate to see it as a fan. Not only as a fan of United, but as a fan of football. Ruben.Amorim, will he lose his job? No, he won't. He won't lose his job, but I have no attachments to Ruben.Amorim. If they sack him, that does nothing for me. That doesn't make me sleep less at night. But they're going to keep him, right? And when they keep him, he needs to do better. We can't be losing games the way we've been losing games in the Prem. It can't happen. It can't be allowed. It can't be accepted and can't be normalized. All I'm going to say is, in conclusion, this team needs a massive rebuild from the ground up. And maybe them not qualifying for the Champions League, which would have papered over a lot of cracks, is a good thing. Should he get the sack? I don't believe so, not now. But if he does, then, like I said, that doesn't make me sleep less at night. He needs to win the first 5 games of the season next year, or at least win 3 of them and draw the others. But he can't afford to lose any game in the first 5 games of the season. He can't. And if he does, he's going to get sacked. That's for sure. So yeah, guys, like, share, subscribe, get in the comments. Please tell me what you think about the last night's game, and tell me what you think about Ruben.Amorim as a manager. Tell me what you think about the performances of players like Bruno and like the senior players like Maguire and Casemiro, players who've been crucial throughout the Europa League season. Tell me what you think, guys. Get in the comments. Like I said, like, share, subscribe. Please, guys, subscribe. There's a lot of you guys who watch aren't subscribed, and that it does really affect how the algorithm pushes my content, because you guys who are watching aren't subscribing, so you guys can't come back to see like other videos that I post. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching, and cheers. Make sure that you subscribe. But yeah, guys, cheers.